This is A Line Around Your Thoughts, a podcast that centers on conversations with artists, writers, musicians, and creatives from around the Inland Northwest. I'm your host, E.J. Iannelli, and this is normally where I would say I am joined today in the Roquehart Media Studio, but as will be apparent by this lovely logo and this wonderful backdrop, that we are not in the Roquehart Media Studio today. We are in the Hamilton Studio, and here I am your guest. So thank you, Don, for having me.
Welcome, EJ. I'm delighted to have you and Tony in the house.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Before we get started, I have to break the fourth wall a little bit and just acknowledge the fact that Maono, who is an audio equipment manufacturer, was kind enough to send me a companion wireless mic to the wireless mic that I had already purchased. And so I could have this wonderful dual setup today. It's part of their Pod Anywhere campaign. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank Maono. I'm under no obligation to do this, but I did want to say that down in the description, I'll include model number and a few other things in case you're interested in finding out more about the mic. But yeah, we're able to go cable free today, which is awfully nice.
I love it. I just watched you set them up and they're magic.
With a little bit of technical background.
Absolutely.
So I realized that this is kind of opening the lid to a potential life story, but I was hoping that you would get us or take me to the point when kind of all this came about, and specifically the listening room, which is this concert venue that the Hamilton Studio kind of moonlights as this concert venue. And so I was hoping we could delve into that.
Well, I'll try to start from the beginning. I moved up to Spokane in 1980. Actually, it was Christmas Eve, 1979, and opened my first studio out of my house on 29th Avenue. And then we bought this place in 1985. I like to say that we're the second owners. We bought it from the people who built the Vatican. That's the diocese, for those that want to know my joke. And I'm an old man, and I've been in this town a long time. And in 1985, when we first moved in here, we built this cyclorama. We blew in the sound insulation, and we wanted to use it as a photography studio and a motion picture soundstage. One thing I should hasten to add is that everything you see here, everything that I've ever done, I do not because it's sensible or because it's a good business choice, but because I'm easily distracted and I'm interested in all these different things. And as I say, I'm so lucky to be the temporary custodian of this gymnasium. What we didn't imagine when we first blew in the sound insulation and building the cyclorama is that it's fabulous with an audience. We never imagined it with an audience. And now the latest manifestation of this place is as the listening room. And for a couple of years, I've been describing as an experiment. But as it is now, it seems to be a thing. The audience loves it. The performers love it. And so now we still, of course, operate it as a commercial photography and filmmaking studio. But yeah, we have concerts. This week is about to be a very busy week I think we've got 5 concerts scheduled this week. So,
it's something that occurs to me is that in your kind of biography or life chronology, a lot of things happen around the new year. So you mentioned that you moved up on Christmas Eve in 1979. I think you made it a New Year's resolution to buy this place. The listening room opened on New Year's Day in 2024.
That's true.
So
Brennan Lee was our first concert.
Yeah. So a lot of things seem to happen around the holidays.
Yeah.
Is that when you kind of get the moxie up to embark on new ventures?
Well, I suppose it must be. Or it's just a coincidence. I don't know. But here we are December 1st, and we're looking at just 1 month left in 2025.
And you came up with the tagline for this, and there with a deliberate nod to Hamilton. You've billed this as the room where it happens.
To be honest, I didn't come up with that. The Inlander came up with that, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't come up with it.
Oh, no kidding.
But,
okay. Yeah. We do have some crack headline writers.
Oh,
So yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. And this is the room where it happens.
Okay, yeah, I assumed that became the tagline, but it was a
Oh,
nice little Hamilton nod.
we've
Yeah.
definitely taken it over. Thank you, the Inlander. Yeah.
But it was a couple things that were happening in town that precipitated the opening of the listening room. So Hamilton Studio had been in place for many, many years prior to the
Decades.
decades.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said decades. I just wanted to speak euphemistically and say many,
Yes.
many
Yes.
years. But it was the closure of the Lucky You and some other. It was the zeitgeist and at the time that precipitated opening the listening room specifically. It was a whole bunch of other factors.
You're absolutely right. It was when the Lucky You closed down, and of course now they're back as the Chameleon. But the thing that's interesting is that we're not a restaurant. We're not really a bar, although we do have a theater liquor license. So when we have our shows, we can serve beer and wine. But it's the thing. Okay, so I'll tell you the story. Samantha Fish was in town headlining at Pig Out at the Park, and she did a show there headlining Friday night, and then they rented the studio here for 2 days to rehearse technical problems and work out technical problems for a show she was taking on the road to open for Eric Clapton. And so we had her, standing right over there, working her magical music, and it was her road manager, Danny Bland, who said, "This is a listening room." I said, "What?" He said, "A listening room. It's a thing. It's a small, intimate space where people can concentrate on a performance. It's not a bar with people talking and being loud. It's a place where people can come and really concentrate on a show." And so, we said, okay, let's try that. And we did, and we are, and here it is.
And what lends itself to that kind of acoustic perfection? Is it the fact that the cyclorama is sloped and it creates that infinite backdrop for photography, but it also has unique acoustic properties?
Yeah, one thing I know is that, and again, FYI, in my youth, I studied theater and I worked in a theater. Everybody has imposter syndrome, and my imposter syndrome is the fact I'm not a trained photographer or filmmaker. I'm a trained theater guy. I studied acting and lighting design. Anyway, when we built this place, we built, as you say, the cyclorama, particularly for the visual. But the thing I learned in college is that acoustics is a black art. And right now, we blew in the sound insulation, we built the cyclorama, and now it really is a unique audio space. This seems to throw the sound out. There's a soft surface here, a hard surface here, soft, hard, soft. So you get one bounce. It's not dead flat, and it's not an echo chamber. And so it really works. And people, without even being prompted, say, why is it that I'm able to hear everything in here? If we have a jazz band, if we've got 6 or 8 people playing, you can hear each individual musician and you can hear the mix. And so, I'm just lucky, blundered into it. That simple. Yeah.
And you have hosted concerts and get-togethers in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I think before the official launch of the listening room. So you had done one-off events. You just hadn't kind of created the dedicated space and the branding around that.
And that's what we're building right now, is we're trying to get more people to know about it, more people to visit. It's so often we'll have a concert and we'll say, show of hands, who's been here before? And often everybody's been here before, but also often it's their first time. And people seem to like it and say they want to come back. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's crazy because I've encountered that dual experience as well. So it's like the people who know, and I have had so many guests come on to this podcast and say, yeah, our recent event or our forthcoming event is going to be at the listening room. And I think Theater on the Verge, who had their debut performance here, and that was your first theater production.
Okay, that again, totally unexpected. And for me, I'm having so much fun. I mean, I'm the lighting designer in here, and it takes me back to my youth. I'm up on ladders focusing Fresnels, but Theater on the Verge was really unexpected. Troy and Chris came to us, and so we've now done two plays here. The first one was Every Brilliant Thing, and the second one was Torch Song.
Right.
And now we've booked them. We've got another show going to happen here in May, and what this actually is a black box theater, and it's so heartening and so strange that the theater experience really is magical. As I say, my background is theater, and to get in here with Theater on the Verge, and they come in, and you've got a fabulous set built and designed, and a whole crew of theater people really doing it. Prop masters, sound designers, lighting designers, they all come in here, and it's so wild to see theater happening in this room. I got to say that the first show was very successful. The second one was very successful, and now the bar is pretty high. So this third one damn well better be good.
Yeah. Well, that's pressure on them.
Oh yeah, on us all. Yeah.
But that was the first theatrical production that you had hosted here.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that they had praised. And I will finish the second part of my question a little bit later. But one of the things that they had praised was the intimacy of the space, which is something that's also been praised by the musicians. And what they really liked is that the fact that you don't have any rise here, so the actors can actually walk out among the audience and create. The word that tends to be thrown around is immersive. And when you have the actors commingling with the audience, it creates a more immersive experience.
Exactly. Nobody is ever farther than 30 feet from the show. So there's not a bad seat in the house. We did the last one in here, Torch Song, there actually were risers built. It was a fabulous set. It really was. And yet the talent can step down and walk right out. And all that also works for the musical performance. We often have artists walking around in the room and singing, and it's nothing but fun.
But I think too of Olivia Brownlee.
Oh yeah,
who does sort of indie pop as well as jazz. I mean, she's extremely cross-genre. Eclectic.
She's a monster talent. Yeah.
She's been here a couple of times in various guises. Rachel Bate McMurphy,
yes,
with Imagine Jazz, has also been here and has been a regular as well. And so the folks that know about it, and they love this venue, and they keep coming back. And I think it's not just the acoustics or the atmosphere, but it's also that the praise that I have heard, and I don't think anybody will fault me for divulging this, but that you know your stuff and you create an environment that somebody can just walk right into, and they know that they'll be cared for. They know that they're going to get extremely high quality professional production, because you do the full package. You do the video, the acoustics, or the audio, everything.
That's true. The one sort of strange specialization that we've blundered in here too also is we will record the shows with multiple cameras and multi-track, isotrack recording of the audio. And some people come to us here in the last few months, people have come to us, their primary assignment is wanting the video. And then we say, well, of course, let's bring in the audience, because that's part of the show. I mean, we do recording in here without an audience, but particularly capturing that magic with the relationship between the performer and the audience. And then when we capture that, we are able to share that with the audience on video. So yeah, that's one more subgenre of what we do here.
And speaking of genres and subgenres, one of the earlier events that you hosted was Northwest Bachfest, which is now Classics Northwest.
Correct.
So we have here the gamut. We have jazz and hot club jazz, and then more modern and trad jazz. and then we've got classical, we've got a lot of chamber music, then you've got theater as well, all mixed into that, and then pop. So anyway, there's this built-in audience, and people come, and when you ask for that show of hands, people say, I have been here before. But you're breaking outside of that. I think in any market, and in Spokane it can be difficult too, you end up preaching to the choir, and then the folks beyond that and spreading the word, there's this threshold that can be very difficult to cross. But I've also noticed that you seem to be pushing at that threshold and aiming to leap over that threshold, because you've got a Queen tribute act that just came in.
Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah. So there's this attempt to speak to a wider audience beyond the folks that already know about this place.
Well, you got it. Garen Hertel, he's the cornerstone of a lot of what we do here.
And we should clarify, I mean, his name has not come, it has come up before on this, but I should clarify, Hot Club of Spokane, Zonky Jazz Band, Rockabilly Space Force. He is, again, another...
And the Red Hot Kitten Stompers.
Red Hot Kitten Stompers. So again, a monster talent there.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is that what we've made a thing is First Sunday Jazz. So every first Sunday is Garen's show. And sometimes he's bringing in the Hot Club, sometimes he's bringing in the Stompers, sometimes he's bringing in guests, but we've made it it's just a fact that it sells out every time, and people just love it. And so, by the way, if you go to hamilton.live, you can join our mailing list and you can learn about all the eclectic shows that we have here. But Garen and his jazz is just so much fun. We sit here and we just can't believe it. You mentioned Olivia Brownlee. She's in here. She's a part of several of his bands. And when you get in here and he's got these intricate 3-part harmonies with ladies singing in the Hot Club, and I mean, just all of it. I mean, the talent is deep. And we're very lucky. And then, as you say, it's his stuff is all sort of pre-war jazz, Stefan Grappelli, Django Reinhardt sort of stuff. But then we also have guys like Jared Hall, and you mentioned Rachel Bate McMurphy and Imagine Jazz, and some of that stuff is way out there. I'm just very lucky that they all choose to come here and make music.
Yeah, and well, coming up tomorrow when this podcast airs, so it's December 19th, you've got Organism, who they do, it's kind of 80s inspired, dance-friendly takes on jazz.
Well, you know more about it than I do. All I know is Don Goodwin is bringing the show, and I'm just delighted. I mean, obviously, he's the director of the Spokane Jazz Orchestra, and he's put together a show that he's going to be bringing down here. And so, yeah, I'm not exactly sure when this airs, but see if you can get a ticket. I'm sure it'll be worth it.
So going back to the idea of like the Queen Tribute Act and things like that, there are attempts to reach beyond the audience that already knows about this.
That one was interesting, and just tell you that again, that's one where they came to us, Aaron Birdsall and Peter Green, his director of photography. Their main thing they wanted to do was to create a video so that he can get out, and they've been working on this for a year. They've got this Queen tribute band, and they've studied it, they've rehearsed it, they know what they're doing, and they wanted to create a video, maybe 7 minutes long, that they can use to market the project. And so we said, okay, well, let's bring in an audience and let's do it here. And the thing is that we started selling tickets and we immediately sold out. And so we decided for this particular show, we would close the bar, just FYI. When we serve alcohol or serve anything here, we're limited to 99 souls. If we're not serving, we can have 199 souls. So this thing was obviously so popular that we decided, okay, let's just close the bar and keep selling tickets. So we sold 150 tickets for that. And people just loved it. People went crazy. It was a hell of a show. And I assume their video will be worth watching. They had some really skilled filmmakers in here, not just my crew, but they had their own crew. And so I'm really excited to see how that turned out.
Yeah, I think their name was Champions Under Pressure.
That's who they are.
Yeah.
Champions Under Pressure, which is a brilliant name for a tribute band for Queen.
But again, that's reaching folks that fall outside of, what you might phrase as the usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
The people that are habitués of the classical chamber music scene, folks who go to Northwest Bachfest or, Classics Northwest concerts are already familiar with venues akin to this, like Barrister Winery.
Mm-hmm.
So, they'll have, this will be on their radar. Same thing with Imagine Jazz. There's a built-in crowd, or Hot Club of Spokane. There's a built-in crowd, and Hot Club, it tends to bring their own dancers. I mean, they have folks they have groupies.
Oh,
that follow them
absolutely.
around.
The
Yeah.
dancers come, and when we set up their show, we have to make sure there's a proper dance floor over here because they've got swing dancers, and whenever they come in, they do a quick lesson for people that want to do it the first time. And Lorna runs the bar. My wife, Lorna, runs the bar. I sit in the back and run lights, and we look at each other. We just can't believe it's happening. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and so all of that is, making this space more widely known.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have done, I think, quite a few promotional efforts to get this on people's radar. But when you ask for that show of hands and you have the folks who say, yeah, I know about this place, and then you're getting folks, well, there's a first time for everybody, but then you're getting the folks that are coming in for the first time. Do you get a feel for how exactly they're finding out about it? Are they drawn to the particular talent that you've got on that evening, or did they just say, word of mouth?
Well, it obviously depends on the show, and there's certainly word of mouth, and Garen has his people, and there's just a whole crew of returning people for that. But for example, the Queen thing, who knew what that was, And one of the things we're dealing with here is marketing. We work with the Inlander to put out our message, and of course we've got our social media, and then when, like in the case of when the Queen band came here, they had their own mailing list, and so I don't know. We just, each time it's different, and I just love it when people hear about it and show up.
But you've had an openness to accept, it seems to me, most comers. So folks who have a genuine desire to perform here, whether that's for a video or whether, like Theater on the Verge, they're looking for a venue. And you have Theater on the Verge is something like pop-up theater where they don't have a dedicated home. They just go to the space that best suits that production. So you're bringing in folks who approach you. Are you approaching other folks and saying, hey, come here and play here, like Brennan Lee? I'm assuming that was a solicitation on your part.
That's right. Well, you remember, you interviewed her.
Yeah.
And yeah. I'm just a big Brennan Lee fan, and she's been here twice now, and I would love to get her to come back. But and by the way, again, if you go to hamilton.live, you can.
Speaking of promotional,
yes, speaking of never always promoting, but you can hear her. You can see, we have on there, if you find the little button that says watch, you can see various pieces of concerts that have been done here, and she's just terrific. And but the fact is that since we've declared ourselves a venue, we don't have to go looking for people. People come to us. And so the question is, when people reach out to us, we just have to ask, well, do we actually think we can sell this? Do we, and so I have my producer, Hayden Taylor, who is responsible for booking shows and promoting shows. And I'm open to all manner of genres. And we just, it's a great experiment ongoing.
What are some of the lessons of this experiment so far? Because we're coming up on the kind of official 1-year anniversary.
2 year.
Oh, 2 years. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary. So that means 2 years of shows, of various experiences in this space. What are you learning? What are you tweaking? What are you fine tuning?
Well, of course, the challenge is, again, sometimes like with the Champions Under Pressure and with Garen's shows, they sell out boom, I wish I had more capacity. But then there's other times when maybe we'll try something that nobody's heard of, and again, whether it's social media or our email list or something, the question is, how do you attract an audience to this? Because again, a lot of people know it, but a lot of people don't know it. And so we're just trying to figure out where that sweet spot is, because obviously I love this place when it's full of people. It's a better show for everybody. And so that's the challenge. And then one of the things that we have learned and are learning is sound. Again, I'm a filmmaker. I come at it from photography. I'm here to tell you that sound is more than half the show. And so we have a number of people that come here and run the board and doing the sound check. There's different levels of rehearsal that's needed to make this place work. Sometimes a show can just load in at 3:00, do a sound check at 4, open the doors at 6 or 5, and it just happens. But there are other shows that need a couple of days of rehearsal. Again, I mentioned the Queen show that needed a full day of rehearsal. I wouldn't have said no to another day, but again, we didn't mention Madeline McNeil. I don't know.
Right.
Do you know
Yeah.
Madeline? This is theater that she's doing, musical theater that she's doing. We were in here once upon a time. She had 4 members of the Spokane Symphony. She had members of the Inland Northwest Opera singing up there and other members on stage singing. And that required several days of rehearsal. Again, I come back to my experience in the theater. It's not uncommon to have a week of technical rehearsals. And so the trick is to get the thing properly rehearsed and have a good theatrical experience.
Well, as we discovered just for setting up for this, I mean, you can do as much technical prep as you can in various capacities, but then there's always something that needs a little dialing in.
Exactly.
At the last moment.
Well, and that's why I tell everybody, get here early. Let's rehearse more. If we can book an extra day of rehearsal, that's often desirable for certain projects. Well, again, Theater on the Verge, that is theater. And so you bet there's a week of technical rehearsals for them. So.
But you've already made mention of how this is kind of combining your various skills. So we've got the theater, we've got the lights above us right now. You were a lighting designer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So that's your early specialty. Then we've got film, we've got photography, we've got the audio component. And so all of these things are coming together in the listening room.
True.
What does this mean for the business that is kind of that helped engender this, which is your film and photography business?
It's been a long, strange trip. And I can tell you there was a time when there were 13 of us here, 13 full-time people. And that was a time when you had to get your hands wet to make a photograph. We had a full color lab downstairs and a full black and white lab. I look back over the decades that I've been in this place, and what we do now bears no resemblance or some resemblance to what we used to do. I mean, for example, you see this little camera sitting right here. This is one of our new modern cameras that we use a lot of. It's a digital Nikon. It's recording raw video. It's on a motorized gimbal. A motorized slider. We used to put film in cameras to make television commercials and to make corporate videos. We have evolved and we keep evolving. I mean, right now we're knocking on the door of AI. How does that play into what we do? I'll let you know. Stay tuned on that one. But we're basically storytellers here. And whether it's a commercial or whether it's a corporate video, that process is the same. The hardware is different, but the idea of taking somebody's time and communicating something, that's what we do. What's interesting is this space as it sits right now, the grid that's on the ceiling, um, we're all still coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah.
The pandemic changed a whole lot of everything. But one of the things that we did during the pandemic, as you know,
Yeah.
was the 75th season of the Spokane Symphony was delivered to the audience through a series of 5 feature-length motion pictures that we shot in the Fox at a time when nobody was allowed in the theater except me and my crew and the musicians on the stage. At the same time we were doing that, we were as busy as we've ever been, turning this into a TV studio, sort of like the TV studios that I would visit in my youth when I grew up in Southern California, where we would have like 2 hosts sitting 15 feet apart, and we would do live stream presentations for all sorts of not-for-profits, and so at that point this became a TV studio. And now you and I are sitting in it and still using it, but it's an artifact from the pandemic. And so again, it's just weird to think about where we were and where we are.
Yeah, and some of the basics of the craft remain the same. I mean, you're still a light-based craft.
Yes.
And so you've got to pay attention to f-stops and whatnot.
Yes.
And ISO. AI is probably going to change that radically when you remove some of the manual elements where a human has to intervene. But that's another topic probably for another day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking about the core business. Has that become slightly, I wouldn't say necessarily sidelined, because I know that you were just out on various shoots for the film and photography. But as you're balancing these, are you finding that the listening room is encroaching on the film and photography business because it takes so much to coordinate it, and it has really blown up from just kind of casually hosting a few concerts?
Yeah, it's definitely sort of taken over our lives. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the fact is that when we started it, and even now, a concert on one level is just another production. That's easy to say, but again, my background is theater, and I used to work for the Pacific Conservatory of the Performing Arts in Santa Maria, California, and they did rotating repertory, and they still do, a different play every day, 5 different plays, and 2 on Sundays. And so
that's a lost art, by the way. Rep is just
bring
back rep.
Well, they're still doing it.
Again, another topic for another day.
Yeah. But for me, because I did that for so many years, because that's what I was doing in college, that's what I recognize this is here. And this week is going to be one big rep theater process. We've got 2 days of rehearsal with the Divas, who are doing this will be after this is on the air, but we've got the Divas coming in for a Christmas concert, and for 2 days rehearsal, Tuesday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I've got Zool Bailey and Greg Presley here doing a private concert for an A-list of audience members.
And it's kind of the non-official launch or first concert of Classics Northwest.
In a way it is, although,
Juilliard String Quartet is after that.
Yes.
That's a more public concert,
yes.
a public event.
Yes. But then, again, I mentioned 2 days of Divas rehearsals, and then we're doing the Classics Northwest concert. And then the next day, we are doing the Divas performance for 2 days in a row. So we'll be setting it up and tearing it down and setting it up and tearing it down. And so, we're in the rotating repertory theater business here. But in answer to your broader question, you bet we're still in the photography and filmmaking business. It is our main business. And what is interesting these days is, you mentioned that just a couple weeks ago, we went and we shot 1 solid week in Minneapolis, making television commercials for a credit union. And then we moved directly from Minneapolis to Indianapolis, where we spent 4 days making a corporate video for a big pharma company called Roche. And Yeah, it's the same business we've always been in, but again, we're using all these new toys, the toys of the gods. We were working with 4 Nikon cameras, shooting raw video and multi-camera shooting, and that we've again evolved into an interesting new place where, and the beauty of it is people still want us, people hire us to do this, so that's good. I need more of it.
But you've cited all these evolving circumstances and all the challenges to the model, and this model would be difficult even at the best of times.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about the model that you're envisioning for this and how you're making it work, and some places where you would like to go, and some barriers that you could potentially face?
Oh, great question. Happy to give it my best shot of an answer. I think maybe the highest and best use of this space is as a performance venue. And so I'm imagining, okay, so when we do a show here now, we set the room up like a nightclub's, cocktail tables. We've got the bar, and a big thing that people love are our charcuterie boxes. So it's, you can come, feed yourself properly, have a nice drink, and enjoy a show. When I look ahead a couple years from now, I have this fantasy, well, maybe I've built a restaurant on some property that we own across the street, and maybe this place is going 7 nights a week as a performance venue. And if we can just get rid of the photographer and filmmaker that's in here, maybe that's what its highest and best is. I don't know. But, for me, again, I'm doing all this just because it interests me, and it's a good time. And the thing that's a fact is that, unlike other things that I may have done in my life, I don't have to push the idea of this. Once you come here to a concert and it's a successful concert and the audience loves it and the performers love it, I know it works. I don't have to push it on somebody as trying to make something happen. So then the real question is, how does it sustain itself? What is it in the future? Does it need a restaurant attached to it to be successful? Again, I've worked for years in the theater and not-for-profits. I think it's safe to say everybody knows that whether it's the symphony or Stage Left or the MAC or any other arts organization, the price of the ticket does not cover the cost of production. Mm-hmm. So the question is, does one day this need to have an underlying, its own 501c3 not-for-profit? Is this like the Fox, or is this like of course, the Myrtle Woldson is attached to a university, but the idea that there are people that say, yeah, this thing needs to exist, so let's support it as a not-for-profit. I don't know. I mean, it's a big mystery right now. And so for me, the big challenge, the big question is, what does this look like? Well, after I'm gone, is this? This originally was built as the St. Joseph's School auditorium and gym. So it started out as an auditorium.
In 1928,
In 1928, that's what the building cornerstone says. Is that where it belongs? Is that what it is? I don't know. At the moment, like I say, I'm the temporary custodian of the gym, and I'm lucky to be, so, and when I'm emptying the trash, believe me, I am the custodian. So, yeah.
And there's often kind of an ideological component to anything that you do, and you've already alluded to this. You do it because it interests you. You do it because you have passion for it. Do you feel a certain amount of pressure, and being a champion under pressure, to sustain this, simply because concert venues at the moment are relatively few and far between? We do have the Chameleon, but that was only given life after the Lucky You had closed down, and there was a big question mark hanging over its fate and whether it would even continue as a concert venue. And again, it has morphed from the time that it was the Lucky You. Then before that, we had the Bartlett. The Bartlett kind of itself morphed into the Lucky You to some extent. We've had the Big Dipper, we have the Knit. But when I think of other concert venues, of course, too, there's the Fox. but then that is primarily reserved for the symphony. And then I think their numbers look a little different, or the numbers that they want look a little different to what you can host here. So I suppose what I'm asking is, there is a niche, a very clear niche for a concert venue of this kind. Does that kind of lead you to feel more of a sense of responsibility, or shoulder that responsibility to keep this open because it is so desperately needed?
Yes. I mean, and you said it. Am I under pressure? Yeah, I'm under pressure. Because finally, at the end of the day, we're not a not-for-profit. We're not standing on the shoulders of a university or something like that. We're making this thing work. And so, yeah, there's the pressure to keep it working. And I do feel an obligation. I've had, I'm trying to, one lady said to me, "You're making community here." And it's true, and so I feel an obligation. Lorna and I, my wife and I, feel an obligation to keep it going. It's also, again, possibly the highest and best use to this place, and it could be the best move we can make to have it be successful. But that is the challenge now. I know, for example, excuse me, Jim Frank, who of course is Kendall Yards. A lot of people refer to this neighborhood as Felony Flats. I prefer to think of it as Upper Kendall Yards.
I just said West Central.
It is.
Even Kendall Yards, whether they would like to be or not, are a part of West Central. That West Central is the broader neighborhood.
Well, no, that's absolutely right. And I mentioned Jim Frank because he's a West Central boy. I mean, he's from this neighborhood, and he would like to see us succeed, not just because I think it's, of use to him and Kendall Yards to have something going on nearby, but he wants to see this neighborhood succeed. And in fact, we've been having some meetings and working with him. We're talking about doing what it might take to create the West Central Creative District.
Uh-huh.
So stay tuned for that. And when you think about it, well, yeah, you got Perry, you got Garland. Why not West Central? West Central's a thing. Excuse me. It's not Monroe, which is different. And so, the idea that we might be a part of this neighborhood thriving, it's a decent dream to have.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably most akin to Hilliard, which itself just became a creative district.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're kind of the pioneers in that regard.
And that's so exciting. I was up there for their kickoff. Oh, that's another thing. I am the newest elected and endorsed by the city council member of the Spokane Arts Commission. And so,
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
We just had Suzanne Ostersmith, who is your co-chair.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly. She's, and I'm just learning what the heck it's about, but there's so much going on in this community, and there's so much raw talent in this community, and there's so much potential in this community. And so much of it is coming true right now that, I feel an obligation to try to keep this thing going in that vein.
Well, I think that's an optimistic and very hopeful note on which to close that portion of the interview. As you know, as an aficionado of A Line Around Your Thoughts, I mean, even
I am a student of A Line Around Your
so
Thoughts.
you know what's waiting all the way at the end,
Yes.
which is the lightning round.
Yes, exactly. God have mercy on my soul.
So, so you'll know that we begin with an either-or question, and I have made this a real soul-searching dilemma for you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm forcing you to choose. We've got theater on the one hand, and we've got film on the other. So that is going to kick off our lightning round question. This is, you have to choose theater or film.
Oh, Lord. Well, I got to say film because I got to keep earning my bread and cheese. And
so
yet,
it's a purely economic decision.
purely an economic decision. And yet that's that's what I've been doing. Which I would say that, it's, again, we make commercials, we make videos. I want to recommend everybody go to Amazon, and there you can rent A Good Enough Day, which is a theatrical film we made a couple of years ago, mostly shot in this room. And I don't know how many more feature films I have in me, but that's a feature film that we made that is currently finding its way in the commercial market. So, I think that's it. But that said, I got theater coming this year and next. So you won't let me say both, but I'll say both. All right, next.
All right. So there's a lot of kind of time traveling implications around this. And I recognize that. But just as a thought exercise, you had the opportunity to kind of travel back in time to a point where you can kind of blow people's minds with one song. What song do you present to this audience of the past that will kind of open up their minds? I don't know if you've ever engaged in this thought experiment where you think, man, I would really like to go back to the 1950s or 1960s and play some, I don't know, Modest Mouse for them and see what they make of it. Maybe appear on the Ed Sullivan show, and then just as radical and transformative as the Beatles might have been, play something from either the current era or even just something that post-dates them. So what song would you play to kind of blow people's minds of the past, a song that before it released?
Oh, geez.
And I recognize that there are a lot of implications in this, because obviously it means kind of appropriating that song from the artist who created it, and there's knock-on effects with time travel. So if you present this song to them, so there's a lot of things. We won't let that complicate it. We won't get philosophical about this. I just want to know the song that you think would blow people's minds if they heard it.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. We don't go easy.
No, you don't. Well,
I often think, like Miles Davis's, you take an album like Kinda Blue and you play that to maybe Tin Pan Alley jazz musicians. So you travel forward a couple decades in time and you present that album to them and you say, this is what jazz is going to sound like. And you see the look on their face, and maybe they hate it. Maybe they say, oh my word, I love this future music. So is there a song that comes to mind? Because I know, and we're going to get to this, I know that you're a fan of The Last Waltz. And so I don't know if there's something from that catalog that you might bring a few decades earlier and say, you got to hear this.
Well, the thing about, I digress, but the thing about The Last Waltz, I remember seeing it in the Cinerama Dome, and that was pre-MTV, and I'd never seen anything like it. You bet that's had a big impact on my life. What I'm trying to think of is a contemporary piece of music that I would take back in time, and I got to be honest that I'm not sure how much of that I've got. Just now when you said a piece of music that I really like, it's and again, you can see it at Hamilton.live. It's Brennan Lee and the John Deere H. That's a tune that I really like, and I listen to it a lot.
So have you brought that back to country audiences, say, I don't know, in the 70s, and say, you got to hear this? Or does that maybe have a timeless quality and they're like, oh, is this what it sounds like in the future? Okay.
And they might say it sounds the same as it does right now. That's part of what I love about Brennan Lee, is that she's timeless. I'm sorry, EJ.
They might take comfort in that. You never know.
They just might. They just might. Okay. Yeah. And likewise, on that same vein, when Garen Hertel is in here with the Hot Club and he's got those three women all singing tight harmonies, it's just magical. And I don't know. I suppose I could take it back and say, listen, Stefan Graffelli and Django Reinhardt live, so.
Well, yeah, and again, that might be consolation, and say, hey, your music is still being performed, a century into the future. So take heart from that.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah, I just think it's the scene from Back to the Future, and I think it kind of lives out this this quiet fantasy of being able to play music for an audience that's maybe ahead of its time, and then introduce them to that. So yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I disappoint you. But there it is.
Totally fine. So we've talked about The Last Waltz. I mentioned that up. I'd like to know your second favorite film behind that.
Oh, well, of course, favorite films. I mean, The Godfather, Doctor Strangelove. Those are a couple of big ones that come bubbling right to the top. But
those seem like obvious candidates. Is there one that's a little more obscure?
McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Talk to me about that.
Okay, well, I saw that when I was in college, when I was very young, and that just made a real impression on me. Robert, oh God,
is it Altman?
Robert Redford? No, Robert Altman. God. You're flummoxing me. You're flummoxing me.
This is the lightning round.
Yes,
Everybody
exactly.
Gets knocked off kilter.
But Robert Altman and his improvisational way of making motion pictures made a big impression on me. Again, I mentioned A Good Enough Day, our feature film that you can get on Amazon. Was largely improvisation. The script was more of a map showing people how to get into an improvisational scene and get out of it. And I would say that, a lot of McCabe and Mrs. Miller was that to me. And so that's a fave.
Well, I mean, and then that has something in common with The Last Waltz then, because there were so many variables on that night that were, during that performance that, threw a lot of wrenches into the works.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you seem to like flying by the seat of your pants.
I guess I do. No, I mean, whether it's recording a concert or, again, whether it's our most recent feature film, I got to stop talking about it. But the idea of getting the cameras up, getting them rolling, sort of like we've got right here, right now, and saying, take it. And then seeing what falls out and capturing it. Yeah, I do like doing business like that.
Yeah, a little bit of prep though. A little bit of
prep. Oh yeah. Well, no, that's right. That you set it up, you got the roadmap, but then you get into it and you see if you can get out of it alive.
Yeah, be as prepared for spontaneity as you possibly can be.
That's it.
And then finally, I hope this doesn't flummox you, because this is a little more open-ended. If your aura had a color, what would that color be? Would it be a nice, beautiful, rich blue like we've got here? Would it be a blinding white?
I think it might be the colors that were flashing on these microphones a few minutes ago. A rainbow that's sort of punching around.
Oh, so you wouldn't limit yourself to one color. You'd be a constantly evolving rainbow, RGB rainbow.
I think so. I think that's it. That's what it is. All the colors in the rainbow. I do like this blue that we put on the site because flesh tone looks nice against it. But let my aura be multicolored.
Excellent. And that, I think, reflects your eclecticism and your wide-ranging talents and tastes.
Yeah, I like this one. Yeah.
Well, Don, again, thank you so much for allowing me to come in here and for playing host to this podcast for today. It's really appreciated.
It's been a pleasure having you and yours in the house. Thank you, EJ.